Welcome to the Open Book Podcast. I'm Crystal.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Brie. And together we're your hosts, bringing you all things books, deep dives, theory spirals, and never-ending TBRs.
Every week we're cracking open new reads, revisiting old favourites, and spiralling down rabbit holes of fan theories, character analysis, and chaotic book talk.
Whether you're here for the romance, the heartbreak, the plot twists, trope lists, or the unhinged debates about who we'd die for or rank higher,
there's always room for you in our book club.
So grab your coffee, your annotated copy, and get comfy.
Because this is the Open Book Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Open Book Podcast. Today we're joined with Maggie Gates, the incredible author behind our fan favourite and most recent series, the Griffith Brothers series. She's also the author of the Beaufort Poker Club series, Fall Creek series, and The Romantics. So several standalones on top of that. Lots of romance, lots of fun, lots of emotional filled charming fictional families, which we love. She likes to call them, I guess, raw, relatable romance. So I guess, Maggie, we're super excited to have you here on the podcast. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So Maggie, for listeners new to your books, how would you describe the Griffith Brothers series?
The Griffith Brothers is a 3-book cowboy romance series set in Texas. It centers around the Griffith Brothers ranch run by the Griffith family. And in each book, it is workplace romance and grumpy sunshine. So if you like those two things, you're going to kind of like the whole series. But then apart from that, each one can be read in order or it can be read as a standalone. And you're going to get a lot of really big love, some unique storylines, and a really satisfying happily ever after.
I love that.
It.
I love a good.
They're like all the things we need. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the grumpy sunshine trope. That's my...
It never gets old. I think that is just a favorite of mine.
It's like one of my go-to. I'm like, oh, that one's always going to be great.
I like when they do sometimes, like when it's like a reverse grumpy sunshine too, when it's like sometimes like the girl is the grumpy and like you know, sometimes when they do that, I love that too.
Yes. And as I tend to be a little bit of a grump myself, so anytime we get the reverse, I'm like, yes, that's my girl.
You're like, that's inspired by me.
Yeah, for sure. In book 1 of the series, Cassandra is definitely the grump of the pairing, and I just had so much fun with her.
I think she's probably one of my favorite of the characters of the whole series because I feel like she's a little unlikable, which I like. So like when like we have like a character that is a little bit like she doesn't really like kids but she does like specific kids, but like she doesn't like, she just has like an edge about her, and like I feel like it makes her so unique but also so relatable because like not all women are gonna be like okay with everything, and like she's just like she knows what she likes and she knows what she doesn't, and she's like authentically herself. For
sure. And I think Cassandra she's either you love her or you hate her character. Yeah. Both are totally fine with me. Because my job is to evoke emotions. And sometimes those emotions are going to be, wow, I really hated her. That's okay.
Yeah.
But like you said, not every woman is super maternal or is go with the flow, and her life gets turned upside down and she's heartbroken. And then to be thrown into a whole new scenario, into this family that you don't know. And I think that her reactions to everything are very normal for those of us who are not quite flexible all the time.
Totally.
You describe that so well.
Yeah.
What was the what first inspired the idea for this series?
Meredith Blake from The Parent Trap. I am a Meredith Blake apologist. I love her character. Even from a young age, like when I was at like peak Parent Trap age, I was like, yeah, but she's super cool.
Yeah.
And so I really wanted to explore what would happen if Meredith Blake got the guy. And I didn't want her to change. That was the biggest thing, is I wanted her to stay true to herself. I wanted her to choose him and his kids because it's what she truly wanted. You know, sometimes we poke fun at like the Hallmark Christmas stories just a little bit, even though we all secretly love them, where the badass corporate girl gives up her whole life to move to the small town with the hunky lumberjack. I didn't want her to give anything up. I wanted her to see that she had so much more with them. And so I just had so much fun picking her apart.
I love that so much. That's honestly not what I thought you were going to say, so it's perfect. I love that.
I know,
so
but
much.
I can like see it now. You
I
know,
can
I'm
see
like,
it
oh
now.
my God. That is
And I do love Meredith Blake, so
Yeah.
and I've always felt weird saying that. So
Yeah.
you're not
Very
really supposed
icon.
to like her, but
How did you go about like choosing which brother to write about first, like for the story?
So I actually wrote about the oldest Griffith brother, Nate, first. He was my debut romance. The book is called The Stars Above Us. It's a military romance. It is set outside of the ranch world, so it's not part of the series. But at the very end, he and his love interest, Bex, come back to the ranch and kind of move back. And you're introduced to Christian and his two daughters, who at the time are very, very little. And so I kind of sat on it for years. That book came out in 2001, or I'm sorry, 2021, not 2001.
wow.
And so it came out in 2021, and I've sat on it for a couple of years because I was like, oh, I want to write this series a little bit more. I want to write this standalone. And so finally I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write the single dad story so I can get it out of the way because I want to, kind of tie up this world. And it ended up being one of my favorite books that I've ever written. And readers obviously really responded to that as well. And so it was the right book at the right time. And I'm so glad that I waited. And in that waiting period, I kind of just kept daydreaming about Christian and Cassandra. And so by the time that I finally got to write them, I had all of these ideas and I felt like I knew them so well. And so it really just came together so seamlessly.
I love that. It's almost like it just like stems off of each other. Like as you're writing, it's like, oh, but I have so many more ideas for the rest of the series now. Like there's so much more I could do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What makes this series feel special or different to you as an author?
For me, it was the first time that I had written a biological family. All of my other series are very found family, friend groups, that kind of thing. This is the first time that I've written like a super healthy, not toxic family, which was really different for me. And so that alone, like, just gave the whole series a different tone. It's also what I like to call a very small scope series where pretty much everything happens on the ranch the whole time. You go into town a little bit here and there, but you really get to know this one location, this one very small group of people. And I think that just helps readers fall in love with them even more.
Mm.
How did you go about like going from like more toxic family dynamics to like a more like healthy family dynamic?
Healthy.
Like how was that? Yeah. How
Was
was
that inspired by a healthy family?
I'm still learning what that looks like.
Okay.
And so
when
for
you
me,
find out,
it was really like, what is the ideal family dynamic? They're not always going to get along, but how do they problem solve? How do they work through conflict? And you see that a little bit more in books 2 and 3, where they have to make some group decisions for their future. And you see a little bit of the resentment, but you also see them working it out, having healthy communication. And I think that's the heart of it. And then when you have Cassandra come in, who does not come in from that dynamic, she's like, this is weird. What are you guys doing? And I think sometimes a lot of us have that reaction where it's like, hold on, you guys like each other? You want to spend time together? That's bizarre. And so it was really fun to play around with something different.
I love
That's
that
so
so
fun.
much.
that's very much me and my husband's family. I'm like, what?
I actually
You
really
want to be involved in each other's existence? Oh, that's odd.
Once you wrote Cassandra and Christian's book, did you know like this is going to be a multi-book series? Like I have just so much to do with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely a planner. And so I was outlining Dust Storm and I kind of already had it in the back of my mind. All right, now Ray and Brooke are going to be book 2. CJ is going to be book 3. Typically, I write a book start to finish and then start the next one. I don't really like jumping from project to project. But with this one, this might be a spoiler. Once you kind of get towards the end where that big bad thing happens with Ray Griffith, I actually paused and I went and I wrote the beginning of Downpour because the timeline matches and you see the scene from both perspectives. And then I kind of went back and jumped into Dust Storm and finished that up so that it was this really cohesive narrative the whole way through.
I love that.
Was there a brother that has been like the hardest for you to write, or one that's been easier?
I think that they all had their own unique challenges. Um, I think it surprises a lot of people when I say that Ray was the easiest brother for me to write, because at the time that I was writing his book, my personal life was a roller coaster and I was really angry about a lot of stuff. And so I just channeled all of that into his storyline. And I think readers feel that. Um, I think CJ was a really hard brother for me to crack because he is so soft. He is so tenderhearted. He's so emotionally intelligent, but he has this exterior that I had to remove and figure out what his deal was.
Mm. I love that. I love the variety. Yeah.
No, you can go
So
ahead,
I love the
Crystal.
variety because we all know when you have, like, I've got like 3 brothers. So, I mean, they're all very different. So I love the variety that you unpack in like that male character. You kind of see like there's so many different, I guess, layers to somebody, even if they're all like a close knit family, like there's so many layers to them, even if they look like they're all, you know, a nice, good family.
Yes.
Are any of the brothers' traits inspired by people in your real life, or were they inspired by individuals you have in your life?
Yeah, so the whole Griffith family is really heavily inspired by my husband's family, my in-laws. He is one of 4 boys, and so you have a lot of those differing personality dynamics. And there's one line, I think it was in Fireline, where CJ is thinking to myself, you know, Christian is the one who manages the problem, Nate is the leader, Ray is the reckless one, and I'm the one who plays with fire just because it's fun. And that explains them so well and just their different personalities. Claire Griffith, the boy's parents, is very much inspired by my mother-in-law, who I have a great relationship with. And she is just that like super welcoming presence. And, you know, will just always spend time with me and my sister-in-laws. And so that was one of my favorite characters to write, is just her maternal relationship with not only her children, but their significant others.
Mm.
Yeah, she really just like welcomes like everyone, like even Cassandra. Like she doesn't like give her the opportunity to like almost say no. She's just like, nope, like you're here, you're a part of us now.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed writing Claire's backstory, where she could really relate to Cassandra, where she's like, yeah, I was a city girl too, and I moved out here. I know how weird it can be, but here's why you fit in. And I think that that moment that they have between the two of them is such a powerful connection, and it really sets her up for success.
Yeah.
Are you able to choose a favorite like a favorite couple out of all of them, or that's probably pretty hard?
Honestly, though, Christian and Cassandra are my favorite. Christian is very much like my husband. I'm very much, not in a positive way, but like Cassandra. And so their personality dynamic is so much like us. And so they have been my favorite for a long time.
And so would you say that that's been your favorite relationship dynamic to explore, or did you enjoy kind of building the dynamics of the other couples as well?
I think I liked all of them for different reasons. And, you know, they all have their own unique way of relating to each other. But with Christian and Cassandra, you had this push and pull the whole time, where there's this immediate physical attraction between both of them. But then she's engaged and he's got, you know, his own life going on. They work together. And so they're trying to keep boundaries. And so that constant like emotional tug of war was just so satisfying to write, especially when they finally gave in.
So fun. Back and
I love
forth,
the
like
build up
the
to that.
the build up and the slow burn, and then the come on, like
Like they can't
Yes.
stay away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
So like what does when you said you're a bit of a planner, so do you have like a board or like with Pinterest board or something for help you with your writing process to kind of prepare yourself for a series?
All of the above. I will start a Pinterest board as soon as a book goes on my calendar, and I'll just start adding little things to it. I'll start a playlist as soon as I know that this book is in the future, so that I can kind of get in the mood, get in the vibes. When it comes to actually getting down to the nitty gritty of preparing for it, I will write out a 3-act structure, like a long summary of the book. I do a chapter by chapter outline that I keep in these big plotting notebooks. And so I try to be as prepared as I can going into it, but there's always something that's going to surprise me. And so I like to say that my outlines are like a roadmap where I'm going to follow it. I know it's going to get me to the destination, but if we need to take a little detour, if the characters are like, oh, hey, we're going to go over here, I know how to get back onto the road and finish the journey.
That's really cool. Do you like go from, I guess, start to end, or do you do bits and pieces, or write the end first? Like,
I typically do write chronologically. Occasionally there will be a scene or a moment that I'm like, it's so vivid in my head. And so I'm just going to go scribble it down real quick, and then we'll come back around to it. And I think there were some moments like that in Downpour, the beginning, but also a couple quotes throughout the middle where it was just like this long monologue. And I went and, just voice note, recorded a voice note in my phone, or, type something out real quick. That way I wouldn't lose it. And then when it came time to write it, it was just put that puzzle piece in and keep going.
that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like voice notes are the best to like capture your random thoughts at 3 a.m. Like, hold on, wait, here's an idea.
They are. And then sometimes I'm like, what did I mean by that? Like, this makes no sense.
Like, this makes no sense, but I knew it was for something. Like, I love that. And you kind of mentioned like how obviously there's like a very clear timeline of the books and how some things cross over. Like, how do you keep track of events that are happening simultaneously? Like, do you have like a spreadsheet, or we love a good timeline?
What I do for all of my books is I print out a blank calendar and I find whatever day the book starts on. And then as I'm writing, I'm like, okay, chapter 2 happens on Tuesday, chapter 3 happens, so on and so forth. And it really helps track timelines. And sometimes I have to go back and fact check myself, or I'm like, wait, did this actually happen on this day? And it's such an easy way to kind of jump back in and compare it. And then also like when books do crossover, like with Duststorm and Downpour, knowing like, okay, we're on the right track. This happened on this day. And so it really keeps like a cohesive schedule.
I love
that.
That's like calendar. I love a timeline.
We love a good timeline calendar. we love to like, sometimes when we read books, we're kind of like, but that's the same day. And then you're like, we love to like investigate and be like, wait, hold on. Is this like an Easter egg for another series or something? And you like try to like pick it up. So I love that you like, hold on, let me check my calendar. Just make sure that's the right time.
The book that I'm actually working on right now, I'm very early in the writing process. I'm like 50,000 words in, but it takes place across 10 days because it's like day and night the whole 2 weeks. And so I'm like, I'm actually really tempted to go in and put like timestamps at the beginning of the chapters. So like, you can kind of track where we are in this consecutive like 2 weeks of constant being awake.
Oh, I love that.
I do like a timestamp. I like
there's something about dated things.
Makes it like real world tangible that I can like actually follow. I don't know. There's something about it where I'm like, this tracks. This is appropriate for this time period. This fits.
You're like, this makes sense in my head.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, that wouldn't have happened at this time. Like, what are you? That doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
So I love that.
That's so true.
I also feel like it makes you a little bit more connected to the story, just because I don't know why. Like, if I know like the day and the time, like I can like envision myself at that day and time and like almost be there with the characters. I know it sounds weird, but like I feel like it gives me like a place, and like I can like almost like build the scene a little bit more than if like I didn't have that.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys have solidified it. I'm gonna put the timestamps on.
Yeah, I love a good timestamp.
Like, I'm very excited for this one. I can envision exactly every moment.
No, it's
now.
true.
Yeah, you feel like you're in the room because you're like, well, this is the time and I'm here. Like, I've showed up. Is there like any particular scene that you wrote that came like quite naturally to you, or like a particular scene that you were like, this has to be in this book?
with Dust Storm, the beginning sequence where you see the car coming down the road, he's coming in on a horse, and it's all very, to me, it's very cinematic. I really wanted that opening because in my head, I can just hear like this kind of spooky, ominous Western music playing. Um, but then in Downpour, I actually had to kind of cut it and change it a little bit because it didn't quite translate onto the page. But the prologue of Downpour, where you as the reader know exactly what's about to happen to Ray. And so it kind of reads like a horror movie where you're like, no, don't go in the closet. Don't get on the back of the bowl. Like, get out. But he does it anyway. But it was like this intercut, like current timeline, in his head monologue, current timeline monologue. And in my head, it worked. And then my editor was like, this is a hot mess. Please stop.
You're like, but you're not.
And so we had to rework it a little bit.
You're not seeing this.
You're
Right.
like, wait, it's like that. You're like that guy with the red like rope. Like, this is what's happening.
So that's my pitch for like, this needs to be a movie because I need my big cinematic opening for Downpour where you have this like Morgan Freeman monologue going overhead.
Yes. I love it.
That's the perfect voice.
Yes.
Is there any particular scene that you found very challenging to write?
In Fireline, I knew that I wanted to kind of try to tackle romantic suspense. I've tried before and it hasn't gone well, and I wanted it to be a guessing game of who the bad guy is. And so that figuring that whole plot out was kind of tricky for me, and I think I did okay. Readers seem to be okay with it. But I've been practicing a little bit more when it comes to romantic suspense because as a reader, that is absolutely what I'm into. And so I've been trying to learn from others, trying to study up a little bit. And that was my first time like going full throttle on there's this bad guy and we don't know who it is and you guys have to figure it out.
Yeah. Just a bit of mystery, you know? We love that.
Yeah.
And is there any, like for your future books, are there any Easter eggs or details in this current series that kind of hints to
Absolutely.
future series?
Yes. So it was announced 2 weeks ago, I think, that I have a new Cowboy Western series coming out with Berkeley Romance starting September 2026. Book 1 is called Blue Jean Summer. And there is going to be a little bit of crossover with the Griffiths, but you guys will have to wait and see on that. But there are some Easter eggs in the Griffith Brothers.
Oh, we love cameos. Like, oh, look, there's Cassandra.
What can you share about like your next book that you're working on? I know you said you're in the early stages, so.
Yes. So next year is going to be packed with new books. I will have an indie book that comes out June 2026. Date is TBD, but it's a little bit different than other things that I've written previously. It's a little bit darker. It's not dark romance, but we are diving into some like seedy underworld types. And opposites attract. It is brand new characters, but there are some crossovers from some previous books that I've written. And so I'm very excited about it. Had the worst writer's block with this book. And then it finally came to me. And so now we are rocking and rolling on it.
If your readers wanted to like prepare for that book, what books would you say they should read of yours to like catch the Easter eggs and whatnot?
I would recommend 100 Lifetimes of Us, which is book 1 in the romantic series. That's a bodyguard romance and like grumpy, not necessarily grumpy sunshine, but like very shy with sunshine. Love that book. And then one of my all-time favorite books that I've written is called What Saves Us. And that is single mom and a Navy SEAL who is now a paramedic. And he actually delivers her baby. So cameos appear in those that will appear in this new book. With What Saves Us, I always recommend that readers check the content warnings beforehand because there are some really, really heavy topics that are discussed in that book.
I love that. You don't see a lot of like paramedic or stuff. That's really cool. I'm gonna. That was What Saves Us, you said?
Yes.
I'm gonna read that one next.
I did read another Navy SEAL romance book, and it like really hit well. So I'm definitely gonna have to read that one.
Yeah, there's something about a Navy SEAL, that's for sure.
We
I
love
think it's
a
because you
big,
don't
strong
know
guy.
many. There are so few that you're like,
I
ooh.
personally don't know any Navy SEAls because we don't really have those. But yes,
Well,
I would
you're in
definitely read
Australia,
that.
so.
I don't know the equivalent in Australia, but something.
I don't know. I think they're just called the Navy. I don't know.
There's probably some secret club.
Maybe they call them kangaroos. I don't know.
So for the upcoming book, are there any like specific tropes that we can like get excited for that we might see?
Oh, I haven't announced any, so we can announce them here.
Okay,
Um,
I love that.
let's see. Off the top of my head, uh, Grumpy Sunshine,
Okay.
Yes.
Morally Gray, hero.
Perfect.
He is a marshmallow of a kidnapper. He has got such a heart of gold, but he kidnaps her. But he's
I
such a
love
sweetheart.
it.
He's adorable. And it's a virgin romance, which I love. I know some people hate it, but that is
I
one
love
of my
it.
favorites.
Oh,
I love
Lots
it.
of
yes.
forced proximity. They're on the run together.
Oh, this is sounding so good.
Well, this is fun. Yes.
This is taking me back to my like mafia era where I was in like a very weird energy. Like
Steph is
kidnapping
either in
and
Cowboys or
abduction.
Mafia, and it's
Yeah, there's like
and now they've
I dive
become both.
headfirst.
What are some of your others, like what other series of that yours that you wrote would you say is like one of your favorites? I know you have a lot, so.
Yeah. So the Beaufort Poker Club is my first series, and I call it my ugly first pancake. You're figuring it out. It still tastes good. It still hits. It's gonna get the job done. That is like it's a 6 book series. It needs to be read in order. If you like New Girl, Friends, Cheers, this sort of sitcom found family vibe where they all just kind of show up and hang out together, you're gonna love the Poker Club. And I have such an emotional attachment to them because they were my first series and I spent so long with those characters. And if you read the Griffith Brothers series all the way through, you're actually introduced to a couple of them. Luca de Rossi, who shows up in Fireline, he is the executive chef, and he's Lennon's boss. He is the hero of book 1 of the Beaufort Poker Club. And if you're in a like timeline reading mood, the book 1, which is called Poker Face, lines up with Dust Storm. And then book 3, you actually see the grand opening of the Griffith Brothers Ranch restaurant in book 3 of the Poker Club because the timelines match up and you have these characters crossing over. So if that's kind of your vibe and you like really diving into a universe, that's going to be the way to go.
Would you say you write in like a universe for most of your series, or do you, or like, yeah?
Yeah. My readers have called it the Maggie verse, and so that's just what we call it now. And
I love it.
if you go to my Instagram, it's pinned at the very top, but there's a Maggie verse reading order where it'll take you through this whole journey where each series kind of builds on the next, and you see these books kind of crossing over in their timelines.
So cool. You're like, move over, Marvel. I'm Maggie. I love it. I love a universe. It's so easy to get hooked to, and like I like when you like you just can just continue on. I like so you can because you know when you read fast, you're like, oh, now I gotta wait. Like, I love that you can just kind of filter in through all different like universes, but it's all still connected in some way. Like that's the best way I think for a series
And it's
to.
so fun, like when you could like pick out a name and be like, oh my gosh, no way, they're here.
Yeah.
Like you made it.
They're still okay.
I love sneaking characters in when people won't expect them because it'll be like this, big emotional moment. It's like, oh, there's that guy from this other series. He's also here.
Where did he come from? That's so great.
Exactly.
When you are writing a book or any time that a reader picks up your book, what is something that you hope readers feel or take away from one of your stories?
I think across all of my books, we will often dive into some uncomfortable topics or uncomfortable life experiences. The book that I had previously mentioned, What Saves Us, is shockingly one of my most popular books, because I say shockingly because it covers postpartum depression, and it gets really, really vulnerable about the topic of postpartum depression. We talk about PTSD and addiction and all of these, seemingly taboo topics that people don't really want to talk about in their real life. But I hope that readers feel safe enough that we're going to unpack these really uncomfortable things. We're going to look at them through the lens of fiction, through these characters that you can see yourself in. But then you know that there's going to be hope on the other side. There's going to be that guaranteed happily ever after, and that it's going to be okay for them, and it's going to be okay for you as well.
I love that. That's actually so relatable. I got back into reading because of like postpartum and like not knowing what to do with myself and just being like so like I just didn't know who I was. And so picking up books and being able to like connect with characters was like so, I don't know, it was like it saved me, it like brought me through that period, and so I love that.
I completely connect with that, because that's exactly what got me into writing. Is I needed something that gave me my identity back. And so reading and writing and diving into fiction can be so healing when you're in those moments.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, even like just like in mental health in general, I feel like for me, like I used to run a lot and I ended up hurting myself really, really badly, but I ran for mental health. And then when I couldn't run anymore, I was like, what am I going to do? I need like an escape. And that's when I started picking up books again too. And for me, that's why like I read so often, because for me, it's like this way of like escaping, but it also, I think it's really interesting when you read fiction because I feel like it allows you to like see like different outcomes that like characters go through, different situations. It kind of makes me at least a little bit more empathetic of things. It kind of opens my mind. It like I think reading is just and writing is just a good escape, and it's a good way to get like stuff you're feeling inside outside and like making you feel okay about it.
I love that you brought up how it makes you more empathetic, because I completely agree. And something that, as a reader, I have tried to focus on this year is reading books where I'm not the main character, where my experience isn't the central storyline, um, and being okay with feeling uncomfortable in that. Because I think so often we kind of make ourselves the center of our own universe. And when we're reading, we're like, oh, I'm the main character here. I get the guy at the end, or the girl, or I get the love story. And something that I've tried to do is decentralize myself from this experience and look at it as I'm actually the side character over here watching what's going on. And I'm learning more about people whose own life experiences don't match my own. And it's been honestly, it's been a great reading year. I have had such a great time diving into books that have challenged me and challenged my worldviews. And you still get, this sexy, steamy story, and you still fall in love, along with the characters. But I think that fiction just has such a wonderful way of pushing you, of healing you, and changing how you see the world, even though it's fake, it's pretend, but it really does impact your everyday life.
For sure. And honestly, like I think a lot of times people think like at least non-readers, I would say, they think like in order to like grow or learn, you have to read something nonfiction. And I completely disagree. I think when you can read a fiction story and like you said, like kind of see like other people and not put yourself as the center of attention, like you can see and learn through other perspectives. I love a first person narrative. I love when like things are like in different perspectives and POVs, because it allows me to like enter the mind of someone else and like see how they would cope with things or see how they would do something differently. So like for me, I think like fiction is so important because it allows you to do that, but through a fun story.
Is there any message that you've ever received or reaction from one of your readers that's really just stuck with you or been like the best? That's just been...
I've written a few different books that I consider them to be my heavier books. One being What Saves Us. One is called Betting Man, and it really unpacks domestic violence and intimate partner violence. there's another book called What Heals Us, where it's unpacking kind of some resentment when you have an autoimmune disorder and how you don't have to be happy about it, and you can admit that it sucks and that it kind of takes away some of your life, and also regaining that. You see a little bit of it in Downpour, where Ray's life completely changes in a split second. And all of those stories that I think are a little bit heavier, anytime I get a DM or an email or a letter from a reader who feels safe and comfortable enough to come to me and be like, hey, this was my experience and this is how I saw myself represented in these characters, that just means the world to me. I keep a box by my desk, and it has all of those letters tucked in there. And if it's a DM, sometimes I'll go ahead and print it out, because it's a constant reminder of the actual real world connection that these books have. And sometimes it's a little bit of an ego check, where it's like, you need to be more careful. You need to take your time with the story, because somebody's going to read it and they're going to have an actual emotional response. And so it's an honor, it's a responsibility. And so anytime I get those letters or those DMs, I'm just like, okay, I did it. And it feels so amazing.
How do you like make sure that when you're covering those heavy topics, like how do you approach like your research, your preparation? If it's not something that you specifically have dealt with, how do you make sure you're like handling those in like a sensitive way, but also in a real way?
Sensitivity readers are the number one asset and resource. I have so much gratitude to people who are able to offer up their own lived experience to help shape these books. And I think a lot of it, sometimes what I have heard authors do, and I've done it in the past, and I kind of changed my process, is they write the book and then they send it to the sensitivity reader. And what I have started doing now is I will, kind of plot. So I know where I'm going with the story. I know some of the questions that I need to ask. And I'll ask if, we can sit down in person, or if we can get on a Zoom call or a phone call or something like that. And let's just have a conversation. You tell me about your life. Tell me about your experience. Because my first goal is always just to connect with that person as two human beings, not as I'm interviewing you, taking notes, trying to build a character. Because I think the way that it shapes how I write characters is my connection and how I understand somebody else. And so I just try to go in with, I'll have a few questions of like, hey, can you clarify this? Or is this the proper term? Or, so on and so forth. But let's just sit and talk. Tell me about your life. Tell me about your relationships with your family, with your friends, your job. What are some struggles that you have? I learned so much from those conversations. They are so fulfilling. And, going back to our previous conversation, I feel like I have gained so much empathy and understanding. And so I'm, again, just so grateful for people who are willing to have those conversations. And so then I, take those conversations and that experience, write the book, and then obviously send it off. And, we have conversations about how is this represented? Sometimes I'm consulting medical professionals to get a little bit more of the nitty gritty. But one thing that I try to stay away from is using too much proper medical language, because that's not how people talk. I think anyone can kind of look at their own profession when you see it represented poorly and you're like, you have never baked a cake a day in your life. I was a pastry chef before I was a writer. And so anytime I'm watching movies, I'm like, that's not how that goes.
You're like, you're just putting that on. That's not how it sets.
Right, like, what are you doing? And so I try to learn their language, learn, the shorthand that they use and things like that. So that I can tell it from that first person perspective as accurately as possible. There's sometimes that I get it right. There's sometimes that I don't. And I'm really grateful for editors and sensitivity readers and beta readers, ARC readers who are like, hey, by the way, you might want to consider revising this. And they are always so gracious with their time. and just being open. And so I try to honor that as much as possible.
I love that, because some authors just kind of put heavy topics in, but they don't sometimes appropriately address them, or you're like, ooh, that's probably not the right situation, or you should have done a few more, like, you should have taken a few more steps. So I love that. And everything that I've read, like, it always feels very real and like something that I haven't experienced, but that it feels very realistic. And I feel that connection to the character without having lived it. So
I think
it
like
definitely
Ray's
translates to the page.
like Ray's story, like that's something like obviously like I have never dealt with before, but like it felt like I could feel like how he was feeling in it, and like I could sense his frustration, and like when he doesn't like want to go see his family or like go to dinners or like whatnot, I could like feel that, because like I probably would be the same way. Like, why would you want to? Like, your entire life has just been switched. Like, it did a 180. Like, oh, like not even overnight. Like within a few minutes, and like I felt all his emotions, and I've never even dealt with that on my own. So like I think what you do is so is such a good way to handle it, because it shows like that you're taking the time to actually like understand like how someone could be feeling, even though you never gone through it yourself.
And there's, I'll be the first to say there have been times that I have not done it right, and it's why anyone can I think it's listed on the content warnings page on my website, but also there's multiple ways to get in touch. But anytime somebody has been like, by the way, this book is already published, this isn't great, it's a very humbling experience.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel good, but I always try to come at it from a perspective of, I'm going to learn, I'm going to do better, I'm going to change it if I can. But I'm going to take this conversation and be grateful for it, that somebody was willing to correct me. And I'm really grateful for those moments.
I think that's great. It shows you like self-reflection, and obviously you wanting to progress and listen. Because I know a lot of people don't like to look at their reviews and things like that. They're just like, well, it's out there, hopefully it was okay. But I think it's nice that, like, because of the universe that you've built and the topics that you kind of like go through, you really want to like connect with your readers and understand, like, did they feel the same, or was it too heavy, was it not clear enough? Because I think that's another thing, like if it's not explained well, like if you've got younger readers who are reading it and they're kind of like don't really understand the depth of the issue, or like their perspective is very limited. Like personally, Brie and I are nurses, so when anything medical comes out, we're kind of like, wait, like let me just like think about that for a second. And I think it's nice that you are open to hearing that feedback and wanting to like grow from it, because that only makes us obviously better in what we do, mastering your craft and things like that. So that's really nice, because I think there's a lot of, obviously with social media and book talk and everything, like there's, it just takes one thing to go wild and really kind of change like your thought process and things. But I think it's nice that you're like, no, just be honest with me, like honest, transparent, and I will kind of try my best to respect all the parties. So that's really nice to hear.
So as readers, is the best place to get updates and information your website, or would it be, you're pretty active on Instagram and socials, would that be the best place to find out about upcoming releases, or to contact you if they had some type of feedback like we just discussed?
Best place to contact me is either through my website or on Instagram. I think I have my DMs turned off all the other places. If you're looking for updates, my weekly newsletter goes out every Sunday. And that has like an overview of all the announcements that happened across the week on social media, reminders. So that is the best resource, because sometimes social media doesn't like to show us all the really important things. And so highly recommend subscribing to my newsletter or following me on Instagram. That's also where all the major announcements happen. And if you want to kind of get involved in my community a little bit, I have a Facebook reader group where you'll also see all of those announcements. Sometimes we'll do some sneak peeks and things like that.
And then we're just gonna go into some rapid fire questions, just to end it off. So first question, do you prefer a slow burn or like instant spark?
Slow burn.
What would you say is the sweetest moment you've ever written?
Ray sorting sweethearts for Brooke.
Yeah, I love that. What is the spiciest moment you've ever written?
I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning and say in Poker Face, the hurricane scene. Ooh. There's a window involved.
Now I need to read that.
All right. We all need to read the hurricanes.
Yeah.
Hurricane. I'm like, okay, that's a vibe.
I know. I like that. It's giving Florida.
That's for you, Brie.
It's for me. What is a trope that you'll never get tired of?
Grumpy Sunshine.
Love it. What is a trope that you would like to write next?
Ex's dad.
Ooh.
Oh,
that is ex's dad. Love
That's
it.
so funny.
That's so
like
funny.
One that a couple people have said that they're like, I don't know if I could pull it off, but I'm kind of into it.
I love an age gap. Like age gap is always the answer for me. And so if we could add that little layer of taboo.
When in doubt, age gap.
Yeah.
There's something about it. And I feel like it's something that when you first read, you kind of like, don't know how I'm going to feel. And then you're like, well, it's something I never knew I needed. And now I need more of it.
And now I need more.
It's one of those things where it's like kind of a red flag in real life, definitely a green flag in fiction.
Yes.
Yes.
Like if you were talking about it in public, people are like, what? And I'm like,
What?
I mean, it's a book. It's a book.
Exactly. If my friend came to me and she's like, he's 20 years older than me, I'm like, girl, be careful.
Okay.
Maybe not. And if it's in a book, he's like, he's 20 years older than me, and it's my ex's dad. Absolutely, get some.
You're like, yes, get it.
Especially if I know that the ex did you wrong, I'm gonna be like, yes.
Yeah, you show up at Christmas with him. Yeah.
You are now his stepmom. Yes.
Hello.
Play that long game.
Yeah. I'm your mom now. Like,
what's your go-to coffee order?
I'm super basic, and I love a pink drink.
Oh,
love a good pink drink.
It's the spot
with
every
inclusions,
time.
Without inclusions, like are we
with
including
inclusions? Yeah.
Including those strawberries in there.
Is that what you call it? Inclusions?
I don't know. I know that's what I order. Like you have to make sure that's like a thing.
Is it? Oh, God.
People don't want to include those strawberries in there anymore. I don't know why.
Oh, they just want it like
I love a fun little drink. I need the fancy stuff in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, like, I'm paying this much for this. Give me everything included. Like,
everything.
And then, what's one book you wish you could read for the first time?
When Ashes Fall by Marnie Mann. It will absolutely destroy you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds something up your alley.
I know. I just wrote it down.
Oh yeah.
It does have some really heavy trigger warnings. So if you need to look at them, absolutely do.
To be destroyed.
If you think you're going to be okay, I would recommend going in blind.
Okay.
I love Marnie Mann. Yeah.
Brie loves a really heavy cry.
I do.
Yeah.
It will. Oh, it's brutal.
Oh, I'm so excited. I needed this.
It's brutal. Just like prepare yourself.
I'm so excited.
He's like, I'm going in blind. I'm reading it as soon as we get off this call.
Literally. I will send you a DM.
She'll
send us like a screenshot of her crying at like 3 a.m. and we'll be like, well, you listen to Maggie. That's Well, Maggie, thank you so much for joining us on the Open Book podcast. We loved hearing everything. Honestly, we really love the Griffith Brothers and we're excited for that universe to keep building. And like, I feel like you'll have so many books under your sleeve by the time you obviously decide to leave the writing world that we could just keep reading them until the end of time, which we love. Like, I feel like you could always keep going back to. Like, I feel like you could just, like, every time the new book comes out, we tend to like to reread. So like, it's the list is getting really long every time you have to reread and come back into the universe. So that's super fun. Guys, if you want to follow or I guess get onto any of Maggie's books, they're all listed in her website. So that's all linked below. Her Instagram, like she said. And obviously, if you want to join her readers group on Facebook, that's super fun as well. So we'll just pop all those links below. But yeah, thank you so much. But thanks, guys, for listening. If you are not following us, please do. We are also on Spotify as well. And please make sure you follow Maggie. And if you haven't read The Griffith Brothers, get onto that, because it is such a, I would say, a wild roller coaster emotionally. And I mean, it's a great time. I think like it's gonna. I feel like for me, it hits something different to other cowboy romances and small town romances. Like it's like we've read a lot of those, and sometimes they do tend to blend. But I feel like your characters are something that kind of stood out a bit more in that field. So it's really like refreshing to read. So thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.